Yes. So we have our audience, our, IDC designers are listening, and
Hi,
they
everyone.
probably,
Nice to see you.
hi, and they probably don't know about really you at all at this
Okay, well,
point.
let me tell
So
you. Yeah.
yeah, tell us about you, who you
Great.
are, what you do, that kind of thing.
So my name is Kim Kuhteubl. I am a author, producer, and entrepreneur, and my company, Me by Design, works with interior designers and the trade and the occasional on-camera host on branding and business strategy. We also do it in a way that's a little bit unconventional. It's not business as usual. We love our numbers and we love making lots of money, but we're also really looking at the visibility piece from a point of availability. So are you available to live the life and to do the kind of great work that you say you are in the world? So
Right.
that's part of our approach. We're inner to outer.
I love that. I love that. And you and I have talked before, way back in the day when
Way
we did
back,
hangouts.
way
I
back. You
know.
were my first. You were my first official interview.
Ah,
So I'm so grateful for that. I remember that. We got to chat for ages and ages. It was ages. I loved
yes.
it.
So we're in this new era where everyone is sort
Yeah.
of wondering what the heck they're going to do with their interior design businesses. They don't
Hi,
know.
Gray Space. Sorry, I'm seeing people I know here.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they don't really know, what to do. We actually did a video yesterday that was with a few different, interior design business analysts, and they gave some amazing advice. And I know you have some great advice, and you're working with your clients now,
Yeah.
giving them, step by step what they should do. And, one of the pieces of advice that sort of came out yesterday that I thought was really valuable was, really thinking about strategy from a standpoint of like, what are the different scenarios that might happen? So
Right.
you can kind of think about that. Is this going to last, 6 months? Is it going to be a year? Is it going to be a year and a half? What do those scenarios look like for a business? How can I adapt to working from home? Those kinds of things. Is that what you're talking about to your clients now?
So I have as usual, a counterintuitive approach to this
Okay.
because we're having a big conversation about how this is unprecedented. And
Yes.
definitely for many of us in our life experience, we have not experienced anything like this, but it actually, or in this way, but it's not unprecedented. The Spanish flu happened before this. We've had world wars before that. Uncertainty is actually one of the few common things that we all experience in life, but right now we're all looking at the uncertainty. And
Right.
that is what and the pandemic, the way that this is spreading, has forced us into kind of a lockdown. So I'm really of the belief that how the best way to navigate uncertainty is moment by moment. And so I don't look at, well, what would you do if this happened 3 months or 6 months, or what if we're in lockdown for a year? Because what you will do is what I noticed, at least from the clients that I work
Yeah.
with, who tend to be, they need to cultivate some emotional discipline. They're often get nervous, like looking at news, or not nervous, but there's only so much intake we can have. And I can tell you, just looking at people's feeds, if, what I noticed anyway in the IDC group is that people are reacting to it the way they just normally act to things as they happen in business. So the really fearful ones are on the fearful, strain. The really positive ones are on the really positive strain. And I think the only truth of this right now that we can honestly look at is that we don't know. We don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So to
We don't know.
spend a lot of time, and we never know, quite frankly. So to spend a lot of time, we think we know, right? We make our plans and we do all kinds of things, but we don't know. We don't know what life is going to deal up to us in any certain way. So the way I'm coaching, back to your question, clients right now is, first of all, I want to know what the lay of the land is. So who has canceled their jobs, who hasn't canceled their jobs? Because for many of my clients, jobs are still moving. They're
Yes.
still working on stuff. So things aren't, it's
pretty as much the same and throughout the whole community.
That's right. Things aren't.
That's what I'm hearing.
Right. You see, some people have like just paused. They haven't said, no, we're never doing this, but they've paused. Some people have canceled altogether. Some people haven't, right? But
Yeah.
in my experience, what I have among my clients is they've either paused or they are just doing what they can, as we all are learning day by day.
Right.
And I think that's the real power in the moment, is staying present in the moment and not freaking out. Now, if you're having a freak out, get some help, right? Pause. And what I'm also seeing is, again, a variety of responses. Like, some people have just thrown in the towel on their marketing altogether, which is how I often come into the conversation around marketing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is the external channel. But the fact of the matter is, those are the people who are usually uncomfortable with the marketing anyway. So it's just like, well, now I really can't do it, right? Which is actually not the truth. So the next question I'm asking to people is, okay, have you gotten any ideas about what it is that you should do in this moment? Like, has something popped up? And without fail, everybody has gotten an idea that is also wildly different depending on the clients, and also not necessarily one that seems to make sense. But guess what? The times we're in don't make sense. And for me, I'm really cultivating working with clients who are leaders. So my position is that if you've gotten an idea in this moment that is different or unusual, or maybe it's not even that different or unusual in terms of the design industry, but to you, it's different, that is where you have an opportunity to insert yourself into the leadership conversation. Right. So if you're all of a sudden, as an example, I had a client in my mastermind just trucking along, really doing the work, was supposed to be actually at a trade show, supposed to design the booths for the trade show and do a presentation, and it tanked. And of course, right? And so immediately her response was to reach out to 9 other partners that she knew, and they put together a contest for a renovation contest, like a DIY. I think they put together, I don't know how many thousands, $6,000 or $10,000 worth of services to start people. And hers, she included a consult. And she said, like, almost overnight or within a couple of days, her Instagram following shot up by 400 people from this contest. And then I said, great. So now take that content for that presentation and let's get you out there doing it as a webinar, because there's nothing to stop you from doing that as a webinar, and ask the trade show that you were going to present at to distribute it to their list. Absolutely. So all of that came, it's like triaging, we're triaging right now, right? But all of that came from her one idea. Right. So what I'm seeing is clients, and I wrote a newsletter about this last week, is that sometimes clients, we start to look externally, either to other designers, well, I'm not feeling that bad, but she's laying off half her staff, so maybe I should lay off half my staff, because maybe I've heard it's going to go much longer. Like, it's just, whoa, and then it just gets out of control. And so a client of mine said to me, well, what I do is I go and I check the news to see what's happening, and then I react accordingly. And I said, I don't know if that's the smartest thing to do. Like, you want to understand how your community is being impacted, what's closed, all of that thing. But I said, your whole business has been about you. In fact, the situation, like where she is now in terms of her business and doing it exceptionally well, she would have never got there. In fact, nobody had believed that she would get there, right? Because she was following all these other strategies. And if you look at her trajectory, you could have never predicted that she would be where she is right now, with the job she has, with the opportunities she has, based on what had happened to her. And so I said, why now would you start to look and pay attention to what other people say you should do, when actually you've lived your whole life? Now, some of it has been in reaction, right? Because she's bumping around. But since we've been coaching actively, she's been listening to her guidance. And so much of what I do with clients, and this is to my next point, which is really having a support system. And it's not always, I'm not talking about fears, but peers, which bring up fears. I'm talking about people who invite you to look at your own inner wisdom, because I really do believe that we have the answers to the questions. Now, sometimes there's some days. Yesterday, I ate a lot of peanut butter cups. I didn't have childcare on Tuesdays. Yes. Right? Like, my son was like, trying to go everywhere he wasn't supposed to. He's teething, like we're all nutty in here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like stir crazy. I was like, I need some peanut butter cups, right? then today, you know, the doula's here. I have my time. I'm doing my work. I'm focused, and I'm really tuning in and saying, there's what I think I should do,
Yes.
right? But that's different than what my little inner voice is telling me to do, which is different than, again, from what I don't want to do.
Right.
So there are all three categories of thoughts. And usually what you think you can do is based on fear and a limiting belief. So a lot of times clients are like, well, I got to do this. So, like, right. And it has nothing to do with anything. Like,
Right.
it has to do with, I see a lot of people putting a lot of energy into downsizing and fear protecting and making sure that they have, like, you know, and I know they talk about that 3 to 6 months worth of, you know, pad in your business and cash flow and all of that. And I get it. And it's important, right? But probably you wouldn't have been able to put that in there unless you actually dealt with the mindset issues. And I believe it's more than mindset, actually. I believe it's your soul issues. Because quite frankly, if you're here, if you're calling, and I look at things from a spiritual perspective, if you believe I am here to design, my gifts, this is how I'm using my gifts. My gifts are meant to be designing with.
Right.
Then there must be something, maybe not in the structure that we've created, right? If you're relying on all your products from China now, it's a tricky situation, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But maybe this is an opportunity for you to reinvent, to ask a different question, to say, well, if I was going to fulfill on that client's project's furniture order, and I decided to use maybe American companies, or I decided to use like local stock, or what would I do? And see if you can answer the question. So a lot of times, and I'm saying answer it not from the fear perspective, but answer it from the heart perspective. Like, what is the guidance here? And sometimes you might be guided to sit down. Like yesterday, as I said, I was like, I got to do. And it's like, you're not doing anything. Just
Yeah.
eat some peanut butter cups. That's what you're supposed to do right now. I mean, I wasn't supposed to do that. So I had 3 or 4 of those, and then I had to stop. But it's, but literally, right, there are moments where you cannot.
Yeah.
You're not present. But I tell you, you will not survive any length of this with fear. You will not generate anything from a fear stance, right? And it's not to make you wrong about your fear, because people are genuinely wired and triggered. It's how we deal with uncertainty. But what it is we want to cultivate practices, whether that's meditation, whether that's watching, you know, your church broadcast, whether that's, for those of you who can still go out of your doors without coming into contact with people, whatever it is, yoga, whatever it is, that is journaling, that is helping you to maintain calm, that is what you want to do, because you will drive yourself crazy. Because if I believe, like, I really try to sit in and I love to predict. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm a producer. We have an end goal. Like, there's a start date, there's an end date, and I'm getting to that, right?
Right.
But in life, I've learned that my end date is not always the timing that is supposed to happen. And chances are, if I've been like, this is supposed to happen in my business, or I see this really happening for me, I see this vision, and your clarity on your vision, it will unfold in the rate that it's supposed to.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm saying right now, clients who've invested in themselves, who are coaching, because they're like, I would be freaked out right now, right?
Yeah.
Clients who are actually like getting the support that they need, we're able to work through it. And it's not to say every day is bunny rabbits and roses, and that they're not freaked out, and that they don't have a moment of panic. But what they do is they have a community now of people who are like, okay, well, how can we problem solve together? And that's really what you want. And again, you can't always do that by yourself, but for yourself, you can choose what you're going to receive and what you're going to take in. Be mindful of that. And I do too. I'm on Facebook, and, you know, I find myself sometimes, because I manage my pages and I'm interacting with people, but I found myself like looking at posts that are terrible. You know, I saw actually a fellow coach's dad passed within 5 days. And so I'm seeing that, and this morning I got like a big, you know, I'm in productive mode. I saw that, and I was like, whoa, like a big wave of emotion. And so it was really okay stilling that. And offering the condolences. She's an acquaintance, but it still really impacted me because I know the good work she does in the world, and I know what a good human she is. But she also
Yeah.
said, I'm going to share this story. I'm going to share what happened. I want you to know it. And she said, I went from not knowing anybody to having my dad be gone. So
Right.
this is what I'm saying. We're dealing with that. It's very real. And it's not to discount the very real things that we're dealing with in this moment. But I personally have had illness in my life. And so I know, again, and if you're ill right now, if you're struggling with something right now, the world stops anyway. So now the world really has stopped in a different kind of way, but there's states, Florida's still going to church for whatever reason, right? Mississippi is not under lockdown. So there's still parts of the country that are ignoring this, right?
Right.
So for you, you should be working over there, but also for the rest of us, you can continue to do what it is you're supposed to do from this leadership position, from
Right.
this position of, I'm getting an idea that seems a little bit unusual for me, but I'm going to do it. Like, now is the time. Well, keeping, and again, showing leadership to your clients. So like if you haven't, which I'm sure most of you have, but if you haven't sent out, we saw a lot of those emails coming out. People were getting frustrated with everybody saying, we're still working from home. But that's
Right.
actually showing leadership. That's actually people saying, look, we've got your back. We're okay. We don't know what to do either, but we're going to do as much as we can while this is happening. So
Yeah.
that's really what you want to do. You can only do what you can do. Like, and then at the same time, it's not the time to throw in the towel, especially if you're somebody who's emotionally like, who gets really wired like that. You're ordering your process and staying in as much of your vision, being open to the how wiggling, the how is changed. And you should be open to that anyway when you're doing business. Like, this is like, for those of you who were around during that 2009 recession, there were businesses, and I know because I talked to them in 2010 and 11 when I was starting my business, who were like, I can't, I gave up during that time, blah, blah, blah. And then they were back in business by 2015. I don't need any help with marketing. I don't need any of this. You can bet your bottom dollar those are the people who are probably out of business again now because they didn't actually do what they were supposed to do, like, which
Right.
was take that learning and
Right.
to understand that you're here. If you're here to do this work, then you got to learn a way to continue to do it consistently. I hear a lot of guilt about, like, well, should I sell this during this time? Is it tone deaf? Because we see celebrities posting about themselves in their mansions, like, oh,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
holed up here. Okay, whatever. But like,
Yeah.
no, I think, again, from a leadership perspective, if you're really tuned into the moment, then you have something to serve. If you have, especially for my designers who are eco-conscious and who are green, and we're seeing pollution levels fall, and we're seeing this is your time. Like, what are you waiting for? If now is not the time more than ever to really start having these conversations. And so a lot of times designers stop themselves. I mean, I shouldn't even say designers, but it's humans in general, stop
Right.
themselves from releasing ideas or information that are contradictory to what everybody else is saying. So it's about trusting your own judgment, and then it's about understanding that, hey, I'm actually here to help this time forward. So
Right.
really get out of your little self and get into your big, bold vision self, and really start thinking about, well, what is my goal here? And that's work we do too. Is like, if you don't have a clear vision, you're going to find this very hard because you probably were going from moment to moment to moment to moment, as opposed to, well, I'm inside of this big vision and this is where I want to go. So now I can't do X, but I could do Y because the vision has information.
Right.
It's like, and this is just more context, it's like trying to design a whole house plan without a set of blueprints.